Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Credit You Deserve podcast. We're here recording podcast episode number 14, and today I'm joined by Jackie Fassler, who is going to talk to us a little bit more about the Little Free Pantries of Marshfield group that started a little over a year ago, I believe. And so, welcome, Jackie. Appreciate you joining the podcast here to talk about these. It's an important endeavor that you guys have taken on.
Well, thanks for the invitation. Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, why don't we start by just talking about what the Little Free Pantries are and how you guys got started in Marshfield and how we've gotten to where we're at today?
Yeah, sure. We've had this conversation a couple of times because I know the credit union's been interested in the same concept.
Yes.
So it was the end of the COVID era, and I was looking at retiring and wasn't sure what I was going to be doing next. So I was doing a lot of reading, searching online, and this concept came to me. It's like a little free library, that where you take a book, give a book concept. They're out in somebody's yard or maybe in front of a business. Only this one was called Little Free Pantries. And it started in 2016 down in Arkansas. And then through COVID just really took off across the United States. And people were maybe just putting a box on their porch or their deck and a sign saying, take what you need. And the motto they came up with is, give what you can, take what you need, give what you can, however you want to phrase that. So it's a matter of reaching someone 24/7. You know, they can't maybe, they have a transportation issue or they can't get to the areas where there might be food available to them because of a work commitment or family emergency, you know, whatever that might be. The concept really is it's for anyone. And even if you or I were preparing a meal and we realize, oh, I'm out of something, you can always go and check the Little Free Pantry. We typically are stocking it with non-perishable foods that are oriented at meals. There might be cans of vegetables, packaged meals, like the ones in the cellophane or the packaged work a little bit better than the canned ones. In Wisconsin, you have to deal with the weather, as everyone knows today is quite a cold day.
Yeah, right.
So freezing, and then in the summer, the hot temperatures really do impact it. But basically, that's the concept. And then once it came to my attention, I started mentioning it to people, and everyone was very favorable and enthusiastic about it, and decided through our church, at Christ Lutheran Church, to talk to our pastor. I brought it up to our council, and again, just received great support. And we decided to move ahead. So just a small group of us started some planning. And do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, no,
okay.
please do.
So we started investigating what resources are in Marshfield. I had worked in some service areas in the past in the community and was unfamiliar with what has now been available. So we talked to the school district, the social workers there, and psychology people. We talked to the local police department. We focused there on where we might locate them.
Sure.
That it's going to fit a need as well as be a safe issue. Some lighting, sometimes there might be a camera within view if that should be needed. And we spoke with United Way and Soup and Socks, and again, some people who, different churches, just trying to get a sense of, is this going to be something that would fit Marshfield well? And again, received very good support. So then we decided, where are we going to locate these?
Right.
How many are we going to build? So some of the logistics side of things. And I spoke to the city clerk, and we spoke to the health department because we wanted to make sure there weren't any safety concerns from that angle as well. Just did a lot of research for a number of months, probably 4, 5, 6 months, and then started meeting, and someone at church donated all the wood and the materials, and then it's a matter of who's going to build them, what are the plans, what are they going to really look like, and again, things just fell into place. I tell you, God will step along with us the entire journey. On Facebook, I noticed that the tech ed teacher at Columbus was looking for projects for his students. So we worked with them, and they built 3 of these. Our men's group built 1 at church, and then we sort of had a prototype. And then the students built the other 3. And The teacher was very excited for the project, and the students were, because not only did they learn something, but they got to use that torch, and they sort of torched the wood.
Yep.
And again, we had some donations right up front. Sherwin-Williams donated us some paint to help with building these, should we need that. Faith Lutheran reached out back to us. I had spoken to a friend who attends there, who is a social worker, and she had mentioned it to her group of leadership for the youth, and it fits with their mission trips. Every year they do a youth mission trip, and food insecurity is a part of that. And so then they asked if one could be located on their property, and we did agree with that, and they've been collaborators with us to make sure this is working well. We feed back and forth with information as issues may come up that we have to address. It's a learning experience for all of us. Then it was a matter of where to put them, and Ashley at United Way helped quite a bit with that. And the police department guided us along that way as well. So we already had 2 locations, one at Christ Lutheran Church and one at Faith Lutheran Church. And we were looking at trying to catch more neighborhoods where it's more walkable. People don't have to have a vehicle to get there. Again, light was an issue, not behind a building or something along that line. And United Way was an appropriate spot for one too. So there's one there on the corner of Blodgett and St. Joe's, across from the old patio area. And then the last one, we worked with Mackey. Because again, a downtown location seemed appropriate, and their board was very supportive, and we located one there on the south side on Central Avenue. So next step is how we're going to fill them.
Yeah.
And that is actually a continuing need. They are used a lot. We were very surprised, especially through the summer months. I guess we're learning with students being out of school. I guess I should maybe back up. We reached out to United Way to find out about the need. And apparently in Wood County, we have 12 to 15% of people living below poverty, and another 20-some above or at poverty, but they're living paycheck to paycheck. So any little emergency, any car breakdown, laying off from a job for even a week or two is really going to impact them. So we did want to aim for that group of people who are really working, doing things the right way, and not being able to fill the gaps. You know, they had to stretch a budget, stretch a paycheck. And rather than going without food, this is a way for them to fill that gap. It's not meant to be the St. Vinny's or soup and socks. This is not the main or primary source of their meals. This is to fill in the gaps or stretch it a little bit further. So our church youth, which we're very happy about, and they're going to do another one this year, did a food drive. We have a student leadership group called SALT, and they did our first food drive and got us started. So we filled up all 4 pantries, and ever since then have relied on either personal donations. People might go and fill them up. They're getting a sense of what is being used or not used. It's been remarkable. Some businesses, the John Mueller State Farm office gave us $50. I forget which number. I'm sorry. $5 quick trip cards.
Okay.
So that was nice because in the summertime we couldn't put any perishable foods in there. We really had to stay to the non-perishable, shelf-stable kind of stuff. So that was really nice. So somebody could go, if they needed gas, they can get gas. Otherwise, they can buy some of the produce that they have there. Or if they want to splurge and buy some coffee, you know, that's for them to decide. They may not have had that for a bit. And like I mentioned, the Sherwin-Williams, and we have actually reached out to Quick Trip. They provided us with another number of $5 Quick Trip gift cards. We wrote a grant to the Marshfield Area Community Foundation and received a very generous amount of money from them that we now go and purchase items. So we have gotten food through the food drives, and Winter Wonderland gave us a number of boxes of food now just recently. And so we go out and we try to fill it with protein foods that are more expensive that people tend not to donate into food drives. So we'll get cans of chicken, cans of tuna, or in the pouches again, or meals that are prepared and shelf stable. We're connecting with United Way to buy some sausages at a reduced price through Wenzel's. So we'll have some beef sticks and things along that line. We're open to ideas, and we've developed a Facebook page, and on the Facebook page we've also reached out to other food pantries, mainly those in the northern parts in the States, because we want to learn what do they do during winter. And so we've learned from them. But our Facebook page is called Little Free Pantries of Marshfield. So we're asking people go there, like it, share it, spread the information around with their friends and their family. If they can give, please do that as well. But just keeping in touch and keeping the word spreading, because it's new. As you said, it's just it's about a year and a half now.
Okay.
That we, oh no, it isn't. Now that I think about it, we started meeting a year and a half ago. It will have been in April, a full year.
Okay.
So we haven't been through a winter. This is our first winter.
Yeah, well, there's a learning curve that comes with that, I imagine. Especially
is.
for those who are listening. So we're recording this on Tuesday the 21st, which happens to be the day where we woke up to like negative 20-degree weather. So
Yes.
obviously it presents a lot of
Yes.
different challenges.
It does. And we've made the decision that once it's reached freezing point, the only things we'll put in there are like we'll get the packaged oatmeal packets, and we put them in a sandwich bag and throw those in there to try to protect them from the elements. Boxed foods, soups that come in packages or boxes, the rice and macaroni dinners that somebody can make. They're not sustaining for a long haul, but they will fill in and help. It also gives us a benefit. We've tried this week putting in some frozen vegetables and cheese curds, or not cheese curds, cheese sticks. So it does give us that opportunity too that we can't do in the summer and other times of Wisconsin weather. So again, like you said, a learning curve. And,
absolutely.
Taking lots of notes and finding what works or doesn't work. We ask that there's no glass be in there at any time. That's just too risky, we feel, from both the weather and just accidents and breakage.
Sure. Yep.
Plastic items like a jar of peanut butter is fine. But again, once it gets to these temps, below zero, we've even taken those out of there. And boxes of cereal, we just put in the paper products, the cardboard products.
Well, and I understand too that Portage County has a series of, so it's not that we're unique in this region, that we're the only ones that are dealing with the cold weather, that there are others that have set the blueprint for this.
We've learned that through our research in the beginning. Portage County actually has between 15 and 20 of them, and they've been around for a bit. Some are much more active, but they have some, like in Junction City, there was one, at least in the past. And they typically have theirs located at schools, some of their elementary schools or their middle school. And then some businesses. So we just follow their pages and listen and learn from what they're experiencing too. They have times when theirs are completely empty, as do us. We will go, and I went in on Saturday morning and I filled them, and I happened to be in the area, so I thought, well, because I had put the frozen veggies in for the first time, and I thought, I want to see if anyone's taking them. And I went back later in the evening, and it was completely empty except for one little packet of oatmeal.
Okay.
So again, if it's one family that needs that and they've taken it, that's good for us. We're finding a lot of households have multiple family units living there. Might be generational or might be just friends living together. As long as we know that it's being used, we haven't experienced any vandalism or destruction or damage other than, again, from the weather. We know there's going to be some maintenance involved every spring or summer from our Wisconsin winters. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What has the reception been like within the community from what you're hearing, or maybe you're not necessarily hearing from the users of the pantries or the people who are taking from it, but just from the system partners, maybe, if you want to put it that way, that you're working with?
Again, we're just getting the word out.
Yeah.
We wanted to have some experience before we really did any big publicity, and thankfully you and the On Focus staff did an article not too long ago that now we're getting some calls from some of our civic groups to come and share a little bit more information about it, and we're hoping that some of them will take it on as a sponsor in some sort, like maybe once a year. This is one of their efforts at one of their monthly meetings to collect some food. I know that Marshfield Utilities has done that last summer. When we opened, they came around and filled all 4 of them, at least on one occasion that we're aware of. So far, we haven't interacted a lot with the community except for us reaching out to them and asking for some assistance. But that's all been very positive.
Good.
We're hoping at some point, and we've seen this with other Little Free Pantries, that once in a while there's a note left in the pantry from somebody who has used it and saying, how it helped them during whatever time period
that's
it was.
good.
One day when I was filling one of them, a grandmother was there taking a few items, and I was going to give her some time because we don't watch people, we don't look at cameras. The only time we might, if somebody did have a camera view of it, is if there was some vandalism or something we needed to address through law enforcement. But otherwise, there is nobody watching who comes and who goes. But this grandmother had just learned about them, and she said her daughter and the children were in a bind. And so she was taking some food for them. And I know on occasion some of the others have also, of our little group, there's 4 of us, Tammy, Sandy, and Kim, and myself, that sort of got this running. And then our pastor is very supportive, and our council. And then we've joined now with the Marshfield Medical Credit Union, because you also had the same vision, going almost simultaneously.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, actually.
It was, and then you reached out to us, and so now we are collaborating again with the credit union too. And in the near future, we'll have one on this location.
Yeah.
It's being built. You can explain that a little bit later.
Yes, I will.
Or whatever. But we're excited about that. And then we're adding another one, so we'll have 6 in town. We're looking at an area in the downtown area. Again, we want them to be walkable and trying to reach the neighborhoods that might have a higher need. We have a couple, we'd like to get one on the south side, further south, but there are some drawbacks. Each one of them has pros and cons.
Absolutely.
So we're working with the groups or the people, and there's nothing to say an individual family couldn't put one up either, just like the Little Free Libraries.
Yeah.
We've been asked to put one in Hewitt at some point. I'm not sure that will be us, but we will certainly help anyone who wants to go ahead and do that. Give them whatever experience we've had and share the information that we're able to.
Yeah, there's a couple key points that I want to emphasize based on what you just said there. First and foremost, the fact that we're not tracking who's using it, so this is not a situation. I would imagine, I've been fortunate enough where I've never had to rely on a food bank or anything like that to feed my family or when I was growing up. But I imagine that there's some challenges there if you have to go to like a Super Stocks, because people are going to know who you are, because you do have to typically talk to someone and request that. And so I can imagine that's challenging. So having a standalone unit, even though it is in front of, the way that ours are situated, or I should say that the Marshfield ones are situated, is that they are in front of a business, but no one's sitting there with eyes on it 24/7, like you said.
No.
So it is a little bit more anonymous.
It is.
From that standpoint.
And that was part of our goal too, and the fact that it's 24 hours. We fill them at different times of the day. It depends on who is going to be doing the filling. We see it, and we don't know who's putting food in there, but we regularly see new foods being put in there.
Yeah.
And now during the winter months, and we debated on this because we don't want it to be just a total food, not just food pantry, but we've had some hats and scarves and mittens thrown in during the winter months.
Yep.
And it's not for books, it's not for anything else that somebody might need in a household other than some personal hygiene items, deodorants, toothbrushes, toothpaste, feminine products, toilet paper. We have put some of those diapers. I've seen diapers in there. We've seen baby food in there. So those are all from other people in the neighborhood. And again, it's sort of neighbors helping neighbors. And I think it's being used a lot more in the evenings. These businesses aren't open.
Sure.
People, if they have a job, are free to go and check it out then. I know on one occasion another person was filling it, and it was a younger woman, and she just said, never thought I'd be in this position. And it may not be in a position that she has to seek out something on a regular basis, such as a St. Vinny's or Soup and Socks, but just when she needs it, she knows it's there. So we're always hoping there's stuff in there for people.
Yeah.
They have been empty on a number of occasions. So.
Yeah, excuse me, yes. It also emphasizes the need, obviously, but one of the benefits that we saw from the credit union's perspective of getting involved with the Little Free Pantries was that one of the challenges with having like a Super Socks or a St. Vinny's is that they're only open limited hours. Mm-hmm. And if you have someone who is in that, you mentioned the 12% that are in poverty and the another good sized percentage that are working but just are barely making it.
Right.
Well, if you're working 8 to 5, you don't always have the opportunity to head over to Super Socks and get the meals that you need. So this was kind of the 24/7 option. Obviously, there's some challenges because keeping them stocked with multiple people are hitting them at the same time, but it gave that option to say, okay, well, I can run out afterwards and grab what I need to or whatnot. So that was part of the reason that we found it appealing. And we know that it's not just Marshfield, but food shortage in across the country is a big issue, and it's not going to go away, unfortunately, anytime soon. So we wanted to do our part. So as you mentioned, we have purchased 2 units that are going to be built. So I'm working with Trinity Lutheran Church south of town here, and their Pioneers group is going to be building those for us and painting them and preparing them for us. And then we will have one installed at the credit union, hopefully by this spring at some point. And then, as Jackie mentioned, the other one that we're going to put downtown somewhere. Yeah. But, with the idea that, yes, it's really to hit different pockets of people in need. And so, we're happy to get involved with it. We were looking at it around the same time, and we actually had worked with the Parks and Rec group to get some approval, and then found out that you guys had done some of the legwork already, so we kind of grabbed onto your coattails and worked with your momentum that you had already started to build over the last year with those.
And I think you actually reached out to us while we were installing. I mean, literally, I think that was the month we were putting them up, because we waited till spring. We didn't make it through winter, which was probably smart and wise, because then we could see some practice of how it's going to be utilized and how we're going to fill them. There's, again, the logistics is interesting. But again, our goal is that they're embraced by people in the community. And there are times where we can all give, and there are times where we might all need. We're all vulnerable, and especially now with the cost of food we've all been experiencing. So, we hope that it'll be embraced in that way.
Yeah,
eventually.
absolutely.
It's going to take some time. If there's a regular, consistent giving, it should be self-supporting, self-sustaining at some point until there's no longer a need, if we can ever hope for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's the ideal, of course, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I know you touched on it a little bit, but if people are interested in giving, like what kind of items are you looking for? You mentioned some of the more meal kit type of things, but then also some of the other components that you're seeing in there. Like what are you guys specifically putting in there? What have you seen that someone else is putting in there? Like, well, that's actually a really good idea. And are there things like, let's be real, you mentioned like the glass jars as an example. Are there things that we should shy away from? Because obviously we want to take everyone's donations, and because it's good, but logistically speaking, there are some concerns or some downfalls to that.
What really helps us the most is the thinking of what are you buying for your family, and buying 2 of them, and not going to your pantry to see, well, what haven't we eaten for a while? It was really unfortunate. We were so thankful we got some boxes of food from Wonderland, but we were so disappointed when, I don't know, we probably threw out almost an entire box that were quite outdated or opened somewhat. And again, we want people to give, and we want them to feel good about giving, but it needs to have a function and purpose, and they just weren't usable. So anything that you think your family might use, and people will put in coffees and tea, they will put in sugar and flour. Again, the elements are an issue with some of those.
Yeah.
But we've seen cake mixes and brownie mixes, things along that line where somebody may not splurge to buy that for someone's birthday. So we've seen like a cake mix with a can of frosting in it so that somebody can celebrate whatever they might want to. The brownie mixes have gone over well. Like I said, right now, since we've gotten the other donations, we're focusing on the proteins and things that people won't spend quite as much money for. But let's see, other things, again, the personal hygiene items are almost always taken. And if people are out in hotels and they take all the little freebie things,
Yeah, the little soaps and shampoos
we've seen
and stuff.
people package in little baggies, shampoo, the body wash, and soaps, and put those in there, which is great. And the fact that they're in a baggie helps too, because the scent won't infiltrate into the foods that
Sure.
are in the pantries. We've seen, like I said, the baby items are really always helpful too. I've seen light bulbs in there.
Oh.
And if like your pantry is close to you and this is the one that you're sort of supporting, we will see 10 light bulbs in there individually packed. We will probably take 2 or 3 of them and put them in all the pantries. So if people are wondering, well, they've all been taken in one day, that's not likely what's happened.
Sure.
So we will disperse them. Every time we go to fill them, we take a look at what's in there, make sure it's still usable and good. I can't think of the word, but
Okay.
usable, edible, that's the word. But otherwise, really, we welcome almost anything. It's really the generosity of the community and the mindset of what does your family use and putting that in there. Trying to hit some of our ethnic groups as well. If we put some tortillas in there or different kinds of Asian foods, that's all acceptable. We all love it. So
Yeah.
it's not, it's whatever you feel is appropriate for your family, we would say is appropriate for another family.
Well, and what is the expectation for those who are interested in giving? Do they have to work through the committee or reach out to Christ Lutheran? Is it something that they can just go to a pantry and drop some stuff
Right.
off and fill them themselves? Like,
Yeah.
how do you envision that going into the future?
That's a good question. We don't have a real clear vision yet, but because that's all under development.
Yeah.
But we've seen like the Emmanuel School, for one of their quarters, they are going to, and I don't know if they've made their decision yet, but do a food drive and or a money drive for the Little Free Pantries. So we're hoping that some of the businesses and schools, civic groups, individual families, like at a Christmas holiday, our family often will give in a certain way. We all collect together and we choose something every year. That might happen too. But they do not have to go through our church. They do not have to go through our committee. If they want to go directly to the pantry, that is great. If they have a larger amount of food and it's really more than what 4 pantries or 6 pantries in the future would hold, they can drop it off by us. We have a storage room that we can certainly keep it, and then we will put it in there when the timing is necessary and needed. If they want to do the quick chip cards, that we probably would ask are dropped off at our church, because those we put in randomly and intermittently. We want them to last us a little longer. We don't just go and put like 3 of them in each pantry.
Yeah.
So something like that. Money donations are welcome as well. We have an account separate just for Little Free Pantries, and anything that's donated, 100% goes to food. It doesn't go to building. It doesn't go to anything else.
Yeah.
It's all towards food or personal items that are in there.
Yeah, no, that's really good to know. It's because it can be like, okay, well, is this committee actually in charge of them? And as you know, I've met with the committee multiple times, and it's, you guys are more consulting on it, even though you guys are kind of running it, but it's not really the idea that you own it per se. It's
No.
really just, well, we're just making sure that they continue forward.
That really is it, just to keep the effort coordinated. Like I said before, anyone might put this in their front yard if that's something that they personally want to host as a family. We're hoping that maybe in the neighborhoods, like the Faith Lutheran neighborhood, maybe the residents around there might take it on and once a week or every 2 weeks throw something in that Little Free Pantry. We really don't know how the model will work except for what we've learned from others and what we're finding in like the Portage County area, or there's one in Little Chute, one in North Dakota that we've been following. Every once in a while on their Facebook page, it'll say, this one is completely empty. And then somebody will say, I'm running out, I'll put some food in there now. So that's a communication tool as well. Our Facebook page is not just to tell you what we're doing or promoting what you can do. We're just communicating with each other. So we're hoping a lot of more people will go on the Little Free Pantry Facebook page and communicate with us.
Yeah, that'd be great. I hope more people do after hearing this.
Yeah.
If someone's interested, they're hearing this and they're like, we would be interested in putting a pantry up, whether it's in your personal front yard or you are a business owner.
Yep.
How would you recommend, or how would you suggest that they go about doing that?
Well, the first thing we did, and I would suggest they do too, is go to the actual national littlefreepantry.org site. There is volumes of information there. History, how it started, the women who started it, where some of them are located. There's a United States map, and you can put your dot on that map so you can see where there are some. We put the 4 of them that we have on that map as well. Just lots of information about do's and don'ts. There are patterns for building. We actually went to the Little Free Library patterns and modeled ours after that. But there are patterns on the littlefreepantry.org site, just pages and pages of information and what has worked and what hasn't worked, just to lead anybody in that direction. They can always reach out to us. As I mentioned, more than willing to either invite them to one of our collaborating meetings to give them information and guidance. They have great ideas. We're willing to steal from them as well. It's like, I hope it's a give and take in all regards. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, like when we got started, and obviously we started the conversation way before we purchased them, but we ended up buying 2 kits off the website, and so it's a lot easier than going to Menards or wherever and buying the lumber, freehand, and then trying to make sure that everything gets cut to size. And I know when we talked about the construction of them, the elements was a grave concern, because we have the extremes, of course, and still trying to build a unit that can sustain and withhold the weather that we deal with all year round is a challenge.
The spring, we put this up in April, and the spring just about killed us because of the rain. Remember those rains we had day after day after day, and they weren't just a little rain, it was like torrential sideways stuff.
Yeah.
Our guys, we have a maintenance group at church, which I know your church does as well. Our guys were so helpful. I was so thankful for them. They would go out with their brains and try to figure out, okay, how are we going to seal this? Where is this water coming in now? So we have roofs on them, rubber roofs on them that we didn't have initially. We have caulking, clear caulking, anywhere we think there might be. The doors are an issue, because if the rain is coming in sideways or snow is blowing at them, that's a vulnerable spot. I think we will take the lead from you and your group in the future. These will not last forever. We're hoping to get several years out of them. But I think we will go and look at buying a kit, and those have doors, and we're hoping, we'll see how yours turn out.
We're going to find out.
We're hoping that will seal up and work better than what we've done. And I know some areas put insulation in theirs, the kind that you can cut and put on the floor. That might help with moisture or protection, or they might even put a plastic grate on the bottom so things are lifted off should there be any moisture inside. During some of that time period, we put our cereal boxes in a 2-gallon or 1-gallon bag, some of the stuff. I hate to use a lot of plastic, but if we wanted to keep some of those items in there, that's what we were forced to do.
Yeah. Well, and I would say it's not a requirement if you're interested in putting one in place that you go to the committee, but the committee has resources. mentioned that you have like a closet full of supplies, for example, that if you want to take this on your own, like by all means, this isn't something that has to go through the committee, but by involving the committee, you might have some other opportunities or resources that you may not, it is challenging to operate one of these on your own. And I know you guys kind of found that out the hard way, but just, keeping the resources and the time. I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about the time commitment that your committee members are putting into this currently anyways?
We're at a good spot right now. We have 4 of us that regularly go and check on them. For quite a while, we were doing it every day, or just out of our own curiosity, sometimes twice a day, just because we wanted to see, is it being used? Are people, are the doors working? What is good and bad about what we've designed so far in this process? Right now, we have a schedule where the 4 of us, the one at our Christ Lutheran Church, someone is a worker there, and she goes there. Our DCE checks it every morning. Monday through Thursday. And then on the weekend, during a church service, I will always go and check on that one as well as some of the other members too. But all of us have taken a day or 2 days and we just run by them and double check on them. And many times there's enough in there. We're very happy to see that the community is taking some of that on. So that's always a good feeling.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So. And it equally is good when we see them empty too, because then we know people are using them.
Yeah, it's like you want to see both of them.
And we don't know if we filled it, if 1 or 5 families are coming and taking things. I know that at United Way, they must have a doorbell or something when people come in the parking lot. And so they will tell me at some point, there's been a lot of activity at the pantry. That's about all that. They don't sit and watch it or anything, but they'll just say, there's been a lot of activity at the pantry, Little Free Pantries. So.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't want to necessarily commit to putting a pantry in their front yard, but they want to get involved, what's the best way for them to do that?
Each person might have what they have available for time and commitment. We always welcome someone who wants to, as I mentioned, sort of sponsor a Little Free Pantry, and maybe they can do that for a whole month. They don't want to take it on for the whole year, but maybe for a month. Or maybe they want to do 1 day a week, I will do this one pantry and make sure that it's in good shape. If there's something that needs to be cleaned out, we check all the expirations. Also, I should mention that when we put our food in there to make sure it's within the expiration time period. But again, the user also probably has that onus on them to double check as well, because we don't control what goes in and is being placed in there. But I will remove some things, like I found a jar of barbecue sauce or a jar of maple syrup. It's like, oh, that's awesome, but not now when it's 30 degrees below zero with wind chill. So we remove them and we will put them back in when the weather allows. So we took anything we see glass, we will take out and hold on to. And if it's something that we know is highly used, we'll put it back in there at an appropriate time. We don't like to, but we don't want to waste it. What we also do is we keep a area for soup and socks. So if we see that it's something that doesn't work well in the Little Free Pantry, we will take it to soup and socks and give it to them, and they can hand it out to whomever is seeking help there. They also will take some things if there's an expiration in the last several months, and they put it on a table, and that's for me or whoever is asking for help to go in. They can choose if they want to take it or not take it. A box of cereal that's a month, beyond its expiration is probably perfectly fine, but that's not for us to make the decision. That's for that person using and eating it. So perfect.
Yeah, so, as we've talked about here, so we've committed to buying the 2 units that we're hoping will, maybe on the anniversary of when you guys deployed your first 4, we'll be able to put the next 2 up. We're going to set up, I'm not quite sure what it's going to look like yet, but we want to collect donations as well from our members who are coming in to be able to stock that pantry as well. But we're also going to make a $250 commitment to the Little Free Pantries group, separate from all that, so that you guys can continue to fill the pantries that you have.
That's fabulous.
And then put some money towards ours, because we're not just going to rely on it'd be great if we got so many supplies that we didn't have to fund any of it, but we will also supplement filling of ours as well. But we understand that like I said at the beginning, it's challenging, especially this day and age right now. It's challenging to get the donations, but just be able to afford the donations. And as a group that's not making any money off this and you're relying solely on donations, that it's very challenging. It can be, I guess I should say.
It can be, but I've mentioned it before. As I said, God has been walking this path with us. People have reached out to us, and how they hear about it, we don't always know. That's why the word of mouth is spreading through the Facebook page, or as we come and do these little conversational contacts is awesome. And they will reach out to us and donate something or drop a bag of something off at our church to put in there. Our church members have put in there. We couldn't have done it without that community, the Marshfield Area Community Foundation grant.
Yeah.
That has sustained us as all these other donations come through as we build that support. But it's, so far has gone more favorably than not.
Well, good.
So,
yes, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So yes, I would say get involved, reach out to either through the Facebook page, the Little Free Pantries of Marshfield page, or reach out to Christ Lutheran, and they'll get in touch with either yourself or someone else from the committee. So reach out if you have any questions or you want to get involved in some aspect. I know, like every group that's looking for help, they will take the help. So please do that. But is there anything else that you would like to add about what you guys are all about here?
I don't think so at all, except for to encourage people to use it as well. We are not here to define who is going to be using the pantries. And a lot of people, as you mentioned before, may not feel like, I just don't want to do that, the shame of it or whatever. This is not to offer any judgment. So we're hoping that people will use it as well as donating it. So we just know there are a lot of people that are in that situation of just getting by. And a medical issue, a car issue, job impact, something could make a difference. So we hope it continues on.
Yeah, well, thank you to the members, at Christ Lutheran, and for the committee members for your guys' leadership in starting this up and bringing this and introducing it to the Marshfield community, because it is filling a big need. And we're just happy to be a part of it. And ultimately, I hope that others get involved as well, and whatever that looks like. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming in and talking about it. I hope that people have learned a little bit more about what this is about and feel more comfortable either using it or donating.
Yeah, it's very simple. Again, as the Little Free Libraries are, you put in, you take out, and it's a give and take. So, thank you again for asking.
Yeah, thank you.